Welcome to Greg's Facts. Today we're going to be exploring the ancient history of the Vikings. The ancient world bad boys. They were like the ultimate combination of a Navy SEAL and a party animal. They knew how to navigate the seas better than Google Maps, and they conquered lands with tactics sharper than a double-edged axe. And the best part? They did it all while rocking a killer beard and a horned helmet. Talk about style and substance. The giants of the north? Contrary to popular belief, Vikings were not the giant, hulking beasts that we all imagined them to be. In fact, they were pretty average in terms of height, standing at around 5 feet 7 inches to 5 feet 9 inches, or the height of a slightly above average NBA player. But don't let that fool you, they were still fierce warriors and expert pillagers. When it comes to their beards, they were not just wild and unkempt, they were actually quite stylish. They would braid their beards, sometimes even adding extensions made of horsehair. They also used grooming tools such as combs and scissors to keep their hair and beards in tip-top shape, because nothing says fierce warrior like a well-groomed beard. So, while they may not have been the towering giants of legend, they were still mighty warriors and trendsetters in the grooming department. From smoked fish to fermented honey, uncover the culinary secrets of the ancient Vikings and how they sustained themselves on their raids and exploration. Vikings had a pretty epic menu. They were master farmers and fishermen, so their plates were always stacked high with fish, dairy, and meats from all kinds of beasts. They also hunted wild game and grew crops like barley, oats and rye. And let's not forget the veggies and fruits, they had them all, depending on the season and location. They knew how to preserve their food through smoking, drying, salting and fermentation, and they even buried some underground, to save it for the winter. When it came to drinks, they had a favorite, the legendary mead, a fermented honey drink. They also had beer, made from barley or wheat and flavored with herbs and buttermilk, which was a staple in their diet. Mead was a popular drink among the Vikings. It was often served at feasts and ceremonies, and it was considered a symbol of wealth and prestige. The women were in charge of the kitchen and the brewery. They were responsible for cooking, brewing, and dairy production. So, next time you raise a glass of mead, cheers to the Viking women! Think all Vikings were warriors? Learn about the everyday jobs and skills that kept their society running. The Vikings had a society so structured, it would make a drill sergeant look relaxed. Men would do manly things like farming, fishing and raiding, while the women would do womanly things like weaving and homemaking. But don't think that the women were just stuck at home. Some of them were skilled tradespeople like blacksmiths and carpenters, and they could also do some pretty fierce raiding. When it came to working, the Vikings had it all figured out. Boys as young as 12 could start training to become warriors. By 15 or 16 they were considered young warriors and could raid and pillage with the best of them. For other jobs, like farming and fishing, the age was a little older, around 16 or 18, but still young enough to enjoy a life of adventure. Forget about money as you know it. The Vikings had a barter trade and gift-giving system, and wealth was measured in livestock, land, and shiny metal. They also had hack silver, which was like chopped-up silver for small transactions and taxes. As the Vikings expanded their trade and commerce, they adopted foreign currencies and even started minting their own coinage, making it easier to trade with other cultures. From axes to spears, learn about the deadly weapons that made the Vikings feared warriors. The Vikings, the ultimate warriors of the ancient world. With their fierce reputation, impressive weapons, and killer naval warfare tactics, they were the ultimate conquerors of the seas. They had an axe for every occasion, a spear for every enemy, and a sword for every. Well, you get the idea. But it wasn't just their weapons that made them so fearsome in battle, it was also their tactics. Like their secret weapon, the shield wall, where they'd arrange their ships in a line, with the shields of the warriors forming a barrier along the sides of the ship, making it nearly impossible for the enemy to board. And then there was the boarding tactic, where they'd use grappling hooks to pull an enemy ship close, and then the warriors would board the enemy ship and fight hand-to-hand. It was like a Viking version of come at me, bro. And for real, they knew how to use the element of surprise. They would use the cover of darkness, fog, or storms to launch their attacks. They were like the ninja warriors of the sea. They even had knowledge of the winds, currents, and tides to navigate the seas. And if that would not be enough, they had seafaring skills and the ultimate weapon, The longship, the perfect combination of speed and maneuverability, perfect for navigating through the fjords and rivers of Scandinavia, and even better for launching surprise attacks on unsuspecting communities. But let's not forget, they were also skilled navigators, using a complex system of navigation that included the use of the sun, stars, and landmarks to determine their position. They could navigate long distances across the open sea and launch raids and invasions on unsuspecting communities. Not to mention, they were the ultimate party crashers of the seas, showing up uninvited and leaving with all the loot. Ready to become a warrior? Discover the age at which Viking boys began their training and how they prepared for battle. Vikings believed in becoming a warrior was a rite of passage, like getting your driver's license but with way more axes and seafaring. At the ripe age of 12, boys would begin training in combat, weapons handling and seafaring. By the time they were 15 or 16, they were basically mini Vikings ready to raid and pillage with the best of them. It wasn't like there was a big ceremony or anything, it was more like an apprenticeship program. First, you learn how to hold an axe without losing a finger, then you learn how to navigate the seas without getting seasick, and finally, you graduate to raiding and pillaging. But not everyone was cut out for the warrior life. Some Vikings were farmers, traders, or artisans. But in the Viking society, being a warrior was highly respected and admired. Beyond shield maidens, learn about the roles and responsibilities of Viking women and the age at which they became wives and mothers. Contrary to popular belief, Viking women were not married off at the ripe age of 12 and popping out babies by the time they were 20. That's just a myth, folks. In reality, Viking society was diverse, and just like today, different individuals and cultures had different customs and traditions. Some Viking women may have married young, while others may have waited until they were older, or never even tied the knot at all. Imagine that, Viking ladies being so fierce and independent, that the men were too scared to propose to them and had to wait for them to propose. Can you imagine that? Viking women asking for their hand in marriage. So, you can imagine that their age for getting married and having children could have varied as well. What did the Vikings believe would happen to them after they kicked the bucket? Believe it or not, Vikings didn't just believe in one all-powerful god, they had a whole pantheon of deities to choose from. They had gods for everything, from Odin, the god of wisdom and war, to Thor, the god of thunder and strength. And let's not forget the goddess of love and fertility, Freya. But the Vikings didn't just worship these gods out of blind faith. Oh no, they had a system. They believed that these gods controlled various aspects of life and the universe, so they would make offerings and sacrifices to them in hopes of gaining their favor. Can you imagine making a sacrifice just to get a good harvest or to have a good battle? And what about the afterlife? Well, they believed that after death, warriors who died in battle would go to Valhalla, a great hall where they would feast, drink and fight until Ragnarok. It's like a never-ending bachelor party. If you thought Vikings were just brutal barbarians, remember they also had a religion and afterlife beliefs just like any other culture. Thanks for watching Greg's Facts. I hope you enjoyed learning about the ancient history of the Vikings. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting facts and educational content about ancient history. Let me know in the comments what other ancient civilizations or topics you would like us to cover next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.